Zaxby's Caribbean Jerk Chicken is just like a vacation in the tropics. Only without the sunburn. Or the dive-bombing seagulls. Or all of that pesky sand.
How'd it get in there?
Well, at least it tastes like the tropics. Enjoy our famous chicken tossed in a tropical blend of spicy habanero, fruity mango, and exotic island spices. The Caribbean Jerk boneless wings and the new filet sandwich meal. 2 more reasons you'll get a kick out of Zaxby's.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? Welcome on into Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan Hajavandi. He is Corey Clark. We work for Warchant.com. Use that promo code Warchant30. Gets you 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. Probably no better way to start your year or, the decade off, right, Corey, than joining the ultimate Seminole sports source. Tell them about it.
Well, when you think about what the last decade was like in the ups and downs and the trials and tribulations, but also the great highs, there were plenty of lows, but there were also incredible highs. You got to assume this decade is going to be like that too. Maybe, yeah, I guess you got to hope not for as many lows, like low points, especially here at the end of the decade. But yeah, once this program gets back on its feet, gets to the top of the mountain, there's no place you'd rather be than in the middle of the Warchant community. Getting to read me, getting to read Ira, getting to listen to Aslan and watch his videos, get to deal with Langston's recruiting. Not deal with it. That sounded like it was almost a punishment, like something you have to put up with.
Endure
Or
it.
like you got to endure Langston. No, and you get to read all Langston's recruiting updates, which should be much more positive in the upcoming years. I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to be a part of Warchant.
Yeah.
How was that? Was that pretty good?
That was fantastic. It's almost about
Thanks,
as good
buddy.
as I sell Zaxby's on a day in and day out basis. It's
Right,
indescribably
sure.
good. You know, it is. It is. Shout out again to everybody who tweets at us and lets us know they enjoy going to Zaxby's. We do appreciate it. I also wonder, there's got to be somebody at the home office that runs a Zaxby's account that's like, who is Wake Up Warchant? Who are these dudes? And why do we keep getting tagged every day about wake up, eat chicken? But, it's what we do. Enjoy it, Zaxby's. Enjoy the profits. We just enjoy the partnership and the fellowship with our friends there. We're going to take a couple questions from people on Twitter, actually, Corey, today, but figured, you probably had a interesting perspective of the Sun Bowl. Ira and I watched it from the press box, and there was no monitors above us or really in the press box, so the only time we got to watch a replay was on the Jumbotron. And I know you were probably on the road, and one eye on the road, one eye on the iPad, but at least you had the glory and the luxury of a national broadcast to show you some replays. And we don't want to hash up too much about the Sun Bowl, but obviously we need to know your thoughts on it since we have to move forward.
Yeah, like I said before the game, there wasn't really a lot you could take away, unless the game was like 64-0. I didn't see any way that you could take something away from the Sun Bowl. It just was a completely and utterly meaningless game. Half the coaching staff isn't going to be there, more than half. Some of the players aren't going to be there. A lot of the players weren't playing. At the same time, though, I think there were two big takeaways. So I was wrong, I think, moving forward. And they're not big takeaways. They're just something when you go into next season. Maybe you go in when you watch how that defense played. Now, granted, it was against an offense that just fired half its staff because it wasn't very good and was without its 2 best players in the running back and the receiver. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. But they played really hard and seemed to play well. Didn't give up a touchdown. Only really gave up one big play, right? They gave up like 200-something yards, and 70 of that came on a screen pass. Mm-hmm. Like, other than that, they were really good at the line of scrimmage, in the secondary. They got to wave incomplete a lot because there were a lot of incomplete passes. So I think you can take something away from that because only one of those guys was a senior, right, that played it all, and that was Levante Taylor.
Correct. So
when you think about what was on the field in that game, and then you throw into the mix next year Marvin Wilson, Jaden Lars-Woodby, Kane Doe, Nasruldeen, man, you're talking about, you kind of all of a sudden look at a second, J-Rob will be back, Robert Cooper will be back, Durden. You start looking at a defense, and you don't want to get too excited because why would you after the 3 years that we've watched? But you do kind of look at that defense when you add those names to the list and go, well, okay, it could actually be something. They could actually be pretty decent. If the new defensive staff can work with these guys and get them in the right position and they game plan well, you have to. There is some talent that's going to be back. Plus, you're getting a Travis Jay, who's a wild card because we have no idea how good a college player he's going to be. But for everything we heard, he's really, really good. That it just all of a sudden you look at a defense, you're like, okay, Marvin Wilson coming back with Nasruddin, with Durden, with J. Rob and Kando and Woodby. You have about 18 to 20 guys that have started games. Emmett Rice, I think, really played well down the stretch. Yep. So anyway, looking at that just for that one game, and I'm not putting too much stock in it, I promise, but that one game kind of gives you a little hope that next year the defense could be better than we thought it would be. On the other side of the ball, I just don't know that. And again, I don't want to put so much in, and I'm not putting so much in one game. It's the course of the season. But I don't know that James Blackman can be your quarterback. It's not just the interceptions, man, although a couple of them were just awful. It's how he reacts to the interceptions. And, like, I was telling a couple of buddies of mine, it's like, man, he's 21 years old now. And still he's having to have teammates come up to him because he looks like he's on the verge of tears. After another interception, it's like, man, you've got to learn to shake this stuff off, man. Like, I don't understand how you can play football, how you can play anything when you care that much, when you're so tensed up. And I think that might be a real issue with him. And it's awful that that's an issue. We talk all the time that sometimes these guys play like they don't care at all, and that's a big negative. But with James Blackman, I think his demeanor and his temperament might not be right for the job. It just matters too much to him. He puts way too much pressure on himself. It's like the weight of the world is on him, and it's almost like if he makes a mistake or two, he starts to devolve. And I don't know moving forward if that's something that you can depend on. I don't know if maybe he thought that was going to be his last game for Florida State anyway, and that's why he was so upset. I mean, he was almost inconsolable on the sideline. Like Ryan Roberts, and you guys, I guess, wouldn't see it because you were in the press box.
Right.
But Ryan Roberts, they showed him on TV talking to James, and they kept flashing back to Blackman. And so there's two things. Like, normally I don't watch games on TV. I'm there. But also I don't think the cameras focus on James Blackman nearly as much as they did in this game. So maybe it's always like this, or maybe this was something different and unique. But it was remarkable how long Ryan Roberts talked to him and almost was like shaking him, like, man, come on, we're still in this. He was pointing to the scoreboard. And then DJ was over there talking to him too. And then even after Florida State got the ball, after they got the stop, I think Jordan Travis went out on the first play of that drive, maybe. But they were still showing Blackman, and his shoulders were slumped, and he was still shaking his head because of the interception he had just thrown. And it's like, come on, man, get it together. Get it right. Jameis Winston throws an interception every other snap. He's still out there flinging it around, throwing touchdowns. Like, he still believes he's going to make the next play. And I don't know. That was really eye-opening in a way that I didn't think the Sun Bowl would be about James Blackman. But maybe I'm putting too much stock in it. It was just that to me was really bizarre is the only word I can think of. For a kid that's played that many games, who's been a starter for, essentially 2 years, to be that devastated by throwing an interception in the Sun Bowl to where his teammates are having to come over and console him like he just missed a kick in the national championship game. Really, really bizarre, and you really wonder, okay, is that he's had 2 or 3 coaches now that have talked about how much he cares, and that he cares too much and he's too emotional, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better.
No, that's fair. And yeah, I don't know at what point you can shake that stuff out, and it's probably way too late in his tenure to figure that out. Does have another coach, though, a new coach that might be able to try to figure something out. But yeah, that was a bit of a bummer because all that put together, they still had an opportunity to win the game, and then Tamorrion Terry fumbles the ball. So it's and no one's going to really talk about that. It's going to be the James Blackman game, which probably is fair to a certain extent. He was responsible for 5 turnovers, but I agree. And I think the overall and what you said, and Ira and I kind of touched on it earlier when we did the show earlier in the week. But yeah, I mean, I think you look at how good the defense did, and you look at where do you go forward at the quarterback position, which I guess should be a little bit more concerning. But I just think the defense has looked so bad for so long, and yeah, Arizona State didn't have their number 1 receiver, number 1 running back. There's some turnover on the defensive staff or the offensive staff for them. But at no point, like whether against Alabama State or Samford or Northern Illinois in the last 24 months, has that defense looked anywhere remotely that fast, physical, and aggressive that Harlan Barnett talked about. So it does feel like, and Ira mentioned it too, and I hate to keep giving Ira all this credit because, golly, he's just one dude. He's just Ira.
Yeah.
But you can't flip this. After you fire Willie after the Miami game, you can't just it's not just not waving a wand and everything's going to get better. So it's like you gave him a month, you gave him 15 more practices to kind of do what he wanted to do, and then like, hey, wouldn't you know? Look at that, his defense actually looks fast, physical, and aggressive. So that's a huge boon, I think, moving forward, because ultimately the offense, like it's going to be Mike Norvell's baby. It's his thing. He's got all the guys. If anything on that staff, like he's got everybody. It seems like he wants pretty much like first option on the offense to help him get that thing right. So I would give him the benefit of the doubt, no matter who's going to play quarterback, which is probably maybe one of the more reckless things I've said on the show. I mean, he'll figure it out. Who cares who's going to play running quarterback?
I agree with you. I do think that he's good enough offensively that they'll have a competent offense.
Yeah.
It might not be better than the one they had this year, but if your defense improves from, say, I don't know, 88th or 90, whatever they finished defensively in the country, if they jump up 30 or 40 spots, that should be a couple more wins. Even against a tougher schedule. The defense was so bad, that 30 whatever. Even though they didn't score in the final 20 minutes against Boise or the final half against Boise, they still should have won that game. 24 against Virginia. If Blackman can make a throw, 31, that should have been enough. Even if he hits Terry in the end zone, you're going to overtime with 31 points. Like the defense was so bad that if you can make that jump from awful to respectable to not embarrassing, then again, that should be 7 or 8 wins. And again, if you want to take anything away from that Sun Bowl, which shouldn't be much, I mean, whether you won or lost that game, really, it did not matter. But if you want to take anything away, the fact that defense looked like that gives you a little bit of hope moving forward. That, okay, man, now we're going to add some more players to that group. And when you go back to Blackman, I just think the more I think about it, he must have just thought that was like his last audition. He took full responsibility. You could tell he was crushed. You just want to put an arm around him and go like, "Come on, man! It's the Sun Bowl. It's not a big deal, dog. It's the Sun Bowl. You're not playing in the Sugar Bowl. Just have fun. Just have fun. It's okay. Oh man, Trey ran the wrong route or went the wrong way. That's a bummer. Come on, man. We got to be better than that. Our man, I underthrew you there, Sheffield on the wheel route. My bad. We'll get him next time. We'll get him next year." But no, man, he was just absolutely devastated, and that's a tough way to play quarterback.
Well, I mean, I don't want to talk about this too much because I want to get out of here. I want to go home in Tallahassee. I'm still at my mom's house. I've been living in a hotel for the last 6 days. But you always talked about this program as a team that needs to learn how to win. I mean, it sure would have been really nice to figure out a way to win that game and carry that kind of positive feeling into the offseason. So, meaningless game. It didn't mean anything. I mean, they're not gonna choke against Miami because they couldn't find a way to finish out the Sun Bowl. But for a team that's had so little good and positive to cling on, boy, it would have been nice to finish that with a score and a win. But I still feel that the trajectory remains the same. The staff's coming together. Tennessee's playing Indiana later on this afternoon. We'll drop this in the middle of the day. So one would think after that game is over, probably David Johnson, the running backs coach, who's been sort of the rumored name would be the running backs coach, would probably hop on board. So the staff will be in place. And there's a really good column that, again, Ira, as last time I'll mention him on the show today, put up.
Jeez
that talks about kind of the two-pronged approach. There are the two big sort of changes that are going to be underway for this team, which is going to be the emphasis on discipline, which we've talked a little bit about in terms of the kind of the culture Norvell wants to create. No hats, no earrings on when you walk into the building, which people think is ridiculous. Go ahead, roll your eyes, but that is culture. That is little stuff that adds up to bigger things. And then just the emphasis on strength and training and conditioning and practicing and not being like, hey, I'm hurt. I'm going to go ride the exercise bike today. Is that cool? All right, good. Thanks. Bye. So changes are underway. We'll see how it all goes.
At Birch Orthodontics, they know what a difference a beautiful and healthy smile can make in your life.
They take the time to get to know you and perform a thorough exam so that they can make an individualized treatment plan just for you or your child.
They use the latest technology in a warm and comfortable environment. So whether you are interested in traditional metal or clear braces or clear aligners, they can give you the smile you deserve. They know investing in your smile means investing in your future. And at Birch Orthodontics, they are honored to be a part of your smile journey.
Serving Tallahassee for 16 years and supporting the Noles since forever. Check them out at birchorthodontics.com. BURCH orthodontics.com. Can I give some shout-outs, by the way, Corey? We had a lot of people come up to us in El Paso.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, I was wondering what was the Florida State contingent like out there?
Man, it was pretty good. I would say, I don't know, maybe like 60-40 Florida State over Arizona. I would definitely say there was more Florida State fans.
It looked like a pretty good crowd.
It was.
Overall, like at least that one side of the stadium that was in the sun, it looked like it was almost jam-packed. But then I wondered, like on the streets and at restaurants and outside the stadium, if there were a lot of Florida State fans there.
Yeah, we ate well in the hospitality tent, which would have made you disappointed because, we went out a couple times, but, we kind of were grinding away, working, and then doing things like that. But I saw a Georgia flag, like a University of Georgia flag, flying in the parking lot on the way up to the game because the shuttle just drove us right to the front and dropped us off, so I didn't get a taste for the tailgating sort of flavor. But doing pregame warm-ups, filming, and everything, like the Florida State side was the side that you didn't see on television. It was the shaded side. It was pretty thick. It was pretty deep. And Mike Norvell was there, shaking hands. John Thrash was there. David Coburn was there. So that was pretty cool. But, we went to the fan fiesta. We met a guy named Joe from El Paso, but he lives in Dallas now. He's jacked. The guy was like 6 foot and probably like 5 feet wide, just jacked. So shout out to Joe. Stephen Foster, he's a dude who actually, I probably haven't said the most flattering things about the band. I'm not a big band guy. I get it. It's part of the fabric of college football, but sometimes I think we get a little carried away with the worship we do for the band. But super nice guy, listens to the show every day, and he was one of the guys that asked me for the photo of the girl from, Tinder Tuesday a few months back.
Oh, right.
So I'm only going to, that's over, by the way. I'm not showing that photo to anybody else. I only showed it to people because it was in El Paso. I also got to meet fan of the program, great contributor on the phone lines, and we used to actually take the phone calls. Sevy from Nashville, met him, his pops, as well as his brother Miles, I think his name is. So met the whole gang. I don't know what their last name is because the way they format their name on Twitter, it's difficult to see what it really is. But got to meet those folks. They were great. Also, we met people in the airport. Met a guy named John. Shout out to John. And then check this out, Corey. We're having lunch at the airport at El Paso, and I look over to the table next to us, and they left cash for their tip, and on top it was a $2 bill. And I'm like, hey, look at that, a $2 bill. I haven't seen. Is that a real one? He's like, yeah. He's like, go ahead, you can have it. I'm like, what? He's like, go ahead, take it. I work at a bank. I see him all the time. I'm like, no, it's fine. Guy literally gave me a $2 bill. He's a Florida State fan. His wife is a fan of Ira's, so. I lied.
Oh, well, good. That's nice.
Yeah. So, we mentioned a whole bunch of people. I probably left a bunch of people off too, but it was super cool, man. The Warchant brand, it's everywhere. I was telling Ira, I get more love going to Florida State games than I did like being on television, which you would think like being on television all those years, you would just everywhere you would go, people would be like talking to you. But no, man, like I go to a Florida State game, and everybody's like, yeah, I love the show. Tell Corey hi. Where's Corey? Why isn't Corey here? I really wish Corey was here instead of you, but neither here nor there.
Well, you're used to that though.
Exactly. All right, man. Let's see right here. I got like 3 or 4 questions on Twitter. We'll take maybe a couple of them, and then I'm going to get out of here and go home. So home Tallahassee. How about this? Michael Jennings on Twitter asks, "What needs the most help? Offense, defense, or special teams?"
Well, defense, I think. But then what we were talking about earlier in the week or earlier in the show is it gives you a reason to be encouraged. I mean, I think the defense. That was the best game they played in at least 2 or 3 years, right?
Absolutely.
I can't remember the last time they held somebody without a touchdown that had had real Division I players on it. So I think when you take that effort, because the Florida effort was not great, man. Now they were good against the run against Florida for the most part. They just couldn't get off the field on third down. I think Florida was it felt like they were 12 of 12,
right.
But they also have a really good quarterback. But a good quarterback. But I thought after that Florida game, I'm like, oh, geez, well, this is what it is. And then for them to look like that after 2 extra weeks of practice, a month off, really gives you a little bit of hope, man. Number one here, I'll say this: I think Asante Samuel is going to be one of the best cornerbacks in the country.
Ooh.
I think that guy is legit. I think he's really good. I think it got lost because the defense was so bad and other people on the team were giving up touchdowns. But that guy is really good, really good. So you're going to have him, Marvin, Nasruddin. I mean, you're going to have some serious players on that side of the ball. The problem, again, what the issue is going to be, okay, is Emmett Rice really this guy? I don't know how many. It seemed like he made every tackle in that game. I didn't look at the stats, but
so did Carlos Becker. How about Carlos Becker, man? He was all over the place.
Seabex was in there too. Yeah. I don't know how she's going to play if everybody's healthy. But if the linebackers can get better, they're not going to be very good. But if they can get better, I think you're going to be strong defensively up front. At least you got to find a way to still rush the passer. I think Kendo will help. You hope Kendo will help. You hope J-Rob coming back will help. Because he had some flashes, he had some moments. You got to find somebody else that can rush the passer, and the linebackers have to play better. But I think overall you look at that defense and you can be pretty encouraged with what you have coming back.
Dovetailing, how about this one? This comes from the Florida State Alumni Club, the Indiana chapter. There's an Indiana chapter of the Florida State Booster or Alumni Club. Check that out. In your opinion,
it's the whole state? You think it's the whole state?
It is.
I guess it would be, right?
It is. The Twitter comes from Indiana Noles chapter. The bio says, State of Indiana's official Florida State University Seminoles alumni chapter. Go Noles.
Okay.
What's your opinion on the most important hire so far? My opinion is that Bruce Warwick getting a guy to leave, being a guy leaving the NFL to work for Norvell speaks volumes. What's been the most important hire so far?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. I'm still not 100% sure what his duties are. So I guess we'll comment on that the next time we talk to Norvell. I think we can ask him, and he'll kind of lay out what his job will be. I think, man, the more I watch these games, I was watching the Rose Bowl. Obviously, I was watching the Sugar Bowl, watching Alabama play. Man, get the strength. I'm of the point now where I almost think that's the most important job. Compare them to the Wisconsin or LSU or Georgia. And Georgia didn't play half their linemen, but still their dudes just look different. Yeah. They all look like Minshew. So that I'm not saying I'm not saying the guy that just was here and left or Valoria before him was doing a bad job. I certainly don't know enough about the strength and conditioning field to criticize one's performance in that department, but get somebody or find some way to get these guys to look like big college linemen. So I think that's a huge hire. And the more you talk to coaches, Jimbo used to say this too, the people that are around your players the most are those strength guys, because the coaches can't be around them, for 9 months of the year, 8 months of the year. And even then it's only for a finite amount of time, but those strength guys around them almost every day for a year. And so you have to have a guy there that, number one, knows what he's doing, but that can inspire those guys to go in there and get bigger and better and stronger. So hopefully this guy will do the trick. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, I think the DC is probably the most important hire, but I don't know if he was the best hire. You know what I mean? I think that all that will play out.
Yeah, I think, in terms of kind of shot across the bow is probably being able to pull a guy away from the NFL, like a really good franchise, and then bringing him on board. And then, again, to the point of the column that I referenced earlier, like discipline, hard work, strength and conditioning is going to be a huge part of this offseason conditioning cycle to get this team right. And a guy like Bruce Warwick, I'm sure, is going to be able to keep everything organized and execute the vision that Mike Norvell has for him. And when the top of the leadership is showing that kind of, focus on detail and things like that, that's going to trickle down. So that's probably a really big hire. But I think ultimately the most important hire, DC probably, but I think the defensive coordinator's got a lot better pieces to work with than what Alex Atkins is going to have to work with on the offensive line. So I think that's the most important hire, just in terms of, like, if you can prove that Mike Norvell made a really good hire, like if there's any of these coaches you can be like, you want to be kind of wowed with, I think Alex Atkins is the guy you want to be wowed with, because he's got the biggest sort of hole to dig out of, and he doesn't have the best or the biggest shovel or backhoe to kind of get out of it. So I would say Alex Atkins. That'd be my answer.
He's also got a really good reputation.
Yeah.
Like when he was hired, there were a bunch of people on Twitter, not Florida State fans, but people that have no connection to Florida State, saying that Florida State got a great coach. a guy that's going to be a head coach one day. I wanted the up-and-coming, one of the rising stars in the coaching profession. I know he was just at Charlotte, but people at Charlotte really liked him. But just overall, when you saw people talk about the guy, you're like, okay, man, this might have been a real good hire. The way people are talking about him.
Yeah. All right, man. There's another question about recruiting, about who we thought is going to be the best chance to start and have a big impact. But I don't really have much of a feel for the 2020 class so far. If they get that running back from Colquitt County to commit, Dejon Edwards, I don't know how to pronounce your first name. I'm sorry. I'll learn it if you do sign and commit. I would think probably because running back is kind of up in the air currently. That would be my pick. And then somebody had a funny one. My question after watching Hornibrook throw the ball with the wrong hand, Blackman throw the ball to the wrong team, and Travis never throw the ball, how bad of a passer must Travis be? But I think it's just a joke. But if you want to talk about it.
I was hoping they would let the guy throw the ball. When you know he's always going to run it, you might as well have Cam Akers back there. I mean, I know Cam wasn't playing, but I wonder what. I mean, I was impressed with Travis. He made some nice runs. Not just I don't think he had any real big ones.
He had
but
one.
He had a couple.
He had like a 22-yard run that was pretty nice. But
a lot of them were like 3rd and 2 when he got 4.
Right.
Just that. That was such a one of the. It wasn't a gripe because it doesn't even seem like real football. But like when Clemson had Taj Boyd, and when Urban had Tebow and then all these guys at Ohio State, when it was 3rd and 2, he didn't care about the wear and tear on his quarterbacks. I need you to get me a first down. Right. And it's such a comfort. It's such like a security blanket to know if it's 3rd and 2, you have a quarterback that can get you 3 yards just to keep the drive alive. And Clemson did that all the time with Taj Boyd. And obviously Tebow did it too. And meanwhile, Florida State, there was a stretch there before Jameis where EJ wasn't going to run. So you had to hand the ball off. And, 60% of the time it seemed like they didn't get the 3rd and short. So Jordan Travis it depends on what Purdy is like, how well Purdy adjusts. By the way, is Purdy coming in early?
I'm not sure. I can try to find that out while you finish your thoughts.
No, I was done. But no, basically my point was that I think there's a spot, even though they didn't let him throw a pass.
Not expected to be a early enrollee. Not expected. So
I think there is a spot for Jordan Travis on the football team. I think they found something in the last three games. Well, not the Florida game didn't count because he got rocked really early in that game. But I think they realized, okay, that could be a weapon for us moving forward. It would be nice to be able to incorporate some throwing into that. But I do think that Jordan Travis has etched a spot on this team for the future. It's the other guy that I worry about, like I talked about at the show. Yeah. Because that guy isn't an elite runner, and so what does he give you? But yeah, we'll know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, you're right. When you mentioned, I didn't talk about it, but when you mentioned earlier, it would have been nice for them to figure out how to win a game, even with 5 turnovers. But
yeah,
why not end the game? You just basically ended the Taggart era the same way you started it, with just nonsense. I mean, we know, everybody knows I'm a huge fan of Tamarian Terry. It is a really big deal that he's coming back. He had the 7th most receiving yards in Florida State history this season. There's only been, I think there's been 6 other seasons where they had more than 1,188 receiving yards. He averaged 20. He had the 2nd most yards per catch in Florida State history behind Javon Walker. And it wasn't like he had Chris Winkie throwing him the ball. I mean, this guy is a supreme talent. But holy moly, man, I could have knocked that ball out of your hands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like that was a bone-jarring hit.
Right.
So it's just the little stuff, man. It's the details. And it goes back to even Akers, who, as awesome as he was this season, fumbling against Boise. In the one spot you can't fumble the ball. You're about to regain control of the game. In this game, I'm still not convinced they were going to go down and score just because I just wasn't. But at least don't give them the game. Yeah. And that's still way, and I talk about it a lot, too much, but that's still too much in this team's DNA. And maybe that was it. Maybe that's how it had to end, Aslan.
In the desert, that way.
in the desert, you flush it all. Your 6 turnovers, you just bury them in like a treasure in the desert, and it's done forever. And you never lose a game like that again because that was ridiculous. Arizona State didn't deserve that game, not with that. Especially not. It's not like the guy even came out and ripped it out from behind. He just basically touched Terry, and the ball popped out. So anyway, hopefully that's all behind them. They got all that behind them.
All right. Well, let's not go out on that note. How'd the basketball team look?
They looked okay. You know, they're going to have some ups and downs, buddy. It was probably closer than it should have been for the first 32 minutes of that game, but then they did what they do. Their depth wore them down, and they won going away. I think it's going to be interesting moving forward. I know people don't necessarily listen to this for a lot of basketball talk, but Patrick Williams is so talented and so skilled. It's going to be really interesting, and there is a chance, probably a decent one, that this is his only year at Florida State. It's going to be really interesting how Leonard handles him moving forward because he doesn't like to start freshmen. He doesn't want to play anybody more than 18 or 20 minutes that's a freshman. He's got Raekwon Gray. He even played Wyatt Wilkes some, Malik Osborne, the 2 big guys. We'll see how Bossa is. He took a hard fall in that game. But I did notice that when the second half started, Patrick Williams only played like 7 minutes in the first half. Raekwon Gray played more minutes and had 4 turnovers and no points. And in the second half, Patrick Williams started the second half. So again, Kamigay didn't start a game at all last year. So it's not so much Leonard never cares who starts games, but Patrick Williams, as the season wears on, he can't just be playing 19 or 21 minutes a game. He needs to get up, and in my opinion, he needs to get up near the Vassell Forrest numbers of minutes played because he's just too good. He's just too good.
Well, and it's reasonable to think that it's going to happen, right? I mean, the season's still pretty young, and now the real stuff starts.
Yeah, I mean, they're now, it's nothing but ACC games the rest of the way. They got 17 games left. They're all ACC games. They probably need to win 8 or 9 of them to get to the tournament, to be a lock for the tournament. Yeah, it is reasonable to think that. But that's not, I mean, he always says, and it's true, it's hard to argue with the results, man. They're 41-10 in their last 51 games, and it's been played this way, that their strength is in their numbers. And, you know, he knows that when he plays a team like North Carolina, his first 5 aren't as good as Carolina's first 5, talent-wise, typically, but his next 5 are better than the first 5 of North Carolina if they're tired. And he wants to play a lot of people, and he did in that game. They played 11 guys. Josh Pastner, the Georgia Tech head coach, I asked him afterwards just how much pressure it puts on you to have so many guys coming into a game. And he goes, look, man, it's incredible. He goes, I legitimately don't know how Leonard Hamilton does it. He goes, they should build a statue of him. And he goes, I'm being serious. Because in this day and age, to get 10 or 11 guys to buy in, to not care about how many minutes they play, is incredible. It's remarkable. He goes, I have 7 guys and it's a problem. He goes, I only play 7 guys and it's a problem. He plays 10 or 11 and it's really remarkable. And it's true. It's pretty amazing that there's 10 or 11 guys here that are cool playing 18 minutes a game. Where they could have gone, you know, Patrick Williams could have gone almost anywhere he wanted. He could be at NC State right now playing 32 minutes a game. But they buy into this. They buy into this program. They buy into what they're trying to do. I just do think moving forward, though, when it matters in the stages of the game that matter, if Patrick Williams isn't in foul trouble, he's got to be on the floor a lot more. He is just a different dude, man. He is really, really. I knew he was good coming in, but he's better than he's just even better than I thought he was going to be. He's got a pull-up jumper, a mid-range game. He's the best mid-range guy on the team. It's just so smooth. It's unguardable. He's just quiet. He's got a quiet, confident, calm demeanor. I think moving forward, Patrick Williams will be getting a lot more minutes at the 3 or the 4. And I also think there's a good chance it'll be his last year. These will be his last 17 regular season games with Florida State. So you might as well use them up, baby.
Heck yeah. All right, so we're going to probably drop back down to 3 days a week since it's the off season. Save me the pity party, everybody. We have lives to live, or at least Corey does. So this is the last show of the week. I'm not going to have you send us off on anything too glamorous or, profound, Corey, because you did such a great job the other day. But I'll see you soon, and we'll do a show on Monday. All right?
All right, buddy. I can't wait. I'm not sure when I'm going to be back in town.
Okay.
Since the basketball team doesn't play at home for a while.
All right.
I don't know if there's going to be any media availability, but either way, it's always a pleasure. I wish I could see you face to face. I just want to. I miss your musk. I miss your scent. But either way, it's been a pleasure. It was a wonderful year, Aslan. 2019, probably the best year of your life.
Probably.
And now we go into 2020 on a high. After this great show, and you don't have to deal with Ira anymore. By the way, just between you and I, what was it? What were those shows like?
They're great, man. The first one again was a little bit nerve-wracking because it's Ira. You don't want to anger the bear. You don't want to, he's the franchise. You got to showcase him properly. The last one was a little more freewheeling after the game. It was a little more, all right, let's just get this over with. It's your birthday. Let's go get drunk. But he was like, yeah, I'm sorry. This was less of a conversation, more of you interviewing me. I'm like, no, dude, this is the way it should be. Like, everybody wants to get your opinion on things. I say my opinion every single day on here. So it worked out quite well. But he was you could see he was a little bit nervous. He's like, man, this is the first show of the year, and Corey's not here, and I got a feeling for Corey. I don't know what I'm going to do. Is it all right if I go this way? Should I say this? And I'm like, Ira, be cool. It's all right, man. Like, people like you too. I mean, you're not Corey, but it's okay. Not everybody is. Nobody is. I've learned that firsthand the last 2 years.
Right, nobody is. And the thing about Ira that he's usually pretty smart about it, he doesn't try to be me. Because that's just goes, it's like Sean McGuire trying to be Jameis Winston. Just be yourself, man. And I think that's an apt comparison. I'm obviously Jameis Winston, 2013. Ira, you'd say, is probably 15 McGuire.
Yeah.
Had some nice moments. One in the swamp. Hit Jeremy Kerr on 4th down.
Yep.
Had some nice moments, but it wasn't 2013 Jameis.
Right.
He can't, his ceiling isn't that high.
He's trying, though. He's trying.
God bless him. God bless him.
All are. All right, folks. Have a great weekend. We'll catch up with you folks next week for another edition of Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.